Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to DataZad. I am Radhika, and today we're going to solve a challenge which again uses DAX, which is my favorite part in Power BI. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. We're going to be solving Workout Wednesday Power BI 2021 Week 20 challenge. And in this challenge, we are going to create DAX tables, which means we are going to use DAX to create tables. Previously, we have used mQuery to create tables or directly have imported tables, but this time we are going to use DAX. So let's jump into our Power BI report. I have already downloaded the data from the link given in the challenge. So now I am going to import it. Now there are multiple sheets in this Excel file, but we just need orders table because that is what is required in the challenge. So I will just click on orders and click on transform data. In this Power Query editor, we can see that the data has loaded all right and the column headers are also fine. So I'm just going to click on close and apply. Now, for the challenge, we have to calculate sales and we will need to use sum of sales multiple times. So, what I'm going to do is create a new measure in the orders table itself and call it sales total, which will be equal to sum of the sales column in the orders table. Now, whenever I have to do sum of sales, I will use this sales total measure. Let us start creating our first table using DAX. So, for that, I will go to table view, go to home and click on new table. Now the first table that we need to create should summarize region and give us the sales and total sales by those regions. So for that, I'm going to call this region summary. For summarizing, we will use the summarize DAX function and that it requires first argument as a table name. So our table name is orders and we just want to summarize the region column. So that is why we're going to give orders region as the column. Now this will give us a table. But we don't want only this table, we want to add multiple columns to it. So we can also add columns using the summarize function and giving column name and the expression, but this is not a best practice. Best practice is to use add columns function in combination with summarize. So this is what I am going to do. So I will say add columns and give this first argument for add columns should be a table and we are giving this summarize table as the table. Now we need to give the name of the next column. I will name this new column as sum of region sales. And the expression that needs to be evaluated to calculate values of this column is just our sales total. So this will give us sales for each of these regions. Now the second column that we need to add is total sales and this total should be irrespective of the region. So this means we need to ignore any filters that are coming from the region. Let us call this column as total sales. Because we need to change the context, so we're going to use calculate function. And the first argument for calculate will be an expression. So we want to evaluate total sales. Now, the filter that we need to remove is the regions filter, but because there could be any other filters that could be applied later on. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use all, which will remove all the context. And I will give orders table as the table. And let us close the calculate bracket. So this is our total sales created. And lastly, we need to create percent of total sales by region. For this column, we need to divide the sales by each region divided by the total sales across all the regions. So for that, I will use divide function. Let us first give this the sales total and we need to divide this by the total sales, and our total sales is what we have calculated here. So the second argument will be this, and let's close the bracket. Let's close the bracket for add columns and press enter. So now this is our full table that is created using DAX. Let us just format this a bit. So this is sum of sales, so it should be in currency to two decimal places. Total sales, again a currency to two decimal places. And percentage of sales, it's a percent value to two decimal places. For the second table, we need to create a table with region and order date, and we need to find sum of sales, total sales, which is across the full table, percent of sales by region and year, which means we are going to consider which region it is, which year it is, and then give the percent, and percent of sales by region for each year, which means any region, and we're just going to give it for each year. Going to home and clicking on new table. Let us call this table region and year summary. Start by using summarizing it. So for summarize, first argument should be a table. So we are going to give orders, and then we need to get region in this table and year in this table. Now for summarize, we can only give values as column names. We cannot add any expression here. So let us first go back to our table and create a new column which will give us the year of the order date. So I will keep this as is. Go to my orders, right click and click on new column. And I will call this order date year, which will be equal to, we can use year dax function and find out the year of the order date. And our year is now added. So let us again go back to our table dax, and in here I will give this year column, and this will summarize my region and order date years. Now we need to add columns, and for this I will use add columns function and give this table as the table. For creating new columns, we first need to give column name, and column name for this will be sum of sales, which is again just equal to sales total. Then next one will be total sales, which is total sales across the full table, which means we need to ignore the region and order. We need to change the context. That's why we need to choose calculate DAX function first, give it an expression, and our expression is sales total. And we need to remove filters. So all we need to do is do all and give orders as the table. So it's going to remove all the filters that are coming from orders table and give us the result. Next, we are going to create another column and call it percent of total sales by region and year. So in this one, we need to calculate percentage of sales by region and year, which means we need to divide the sales of region and year by the total sales. So for this, I'm going to use divide function. We need to divide the sales of the region and year divided by total sales, and again total sales is what we get from here. So I'm just going to copy paste this here and close the divide bracket. Lastly, we need to calculate percentage of sales by region, and for this we need to divide the sales which is coming for South and 2019. We need to find percent of sales by region for each year, which means we need to remove the context that is coming from the region, and we need to use that sales which we are getting for every year. So for that, what I will do is I will use all and give this region column, so that it's going to remove any context that is coming from region. And let us close all these brackets and click on enter. I made a mistake here. We need to use calculate sales total and then change the context from here, and we need one more bracket to close. And this is how the table looks like. Let us just format these columns. So sum of sales, it's a currency value to two decimal places. Similarly, total sales currency value to two decimal places. Percentage of total sales by region and year is a percent value, and percent of sales by region is also a percent value. So now after doing that, this is how our cleaned up table looks like. Now for the last table, we need to first apply a date filter. So we just need data for 2019. And again, we need to summarize this, but this time by region and category. And we need to find similar values, sum of sales, total sales, which is sales across the full table, percentage of sales by region and category, and percentage of sales for each region by category. So let's go back to our Power BI report. So again, we'll go to home, click on new table, and I will call this region and category summary for 2019. Again, because we need to summarize, so let us use summarize DAX function. Now we need to apply a filter for 2019. What we can do is like last time, where let's go back to one of the previous DAX queries. Either we can apply a filter here. So after all orders, we can say where the year is 2019, again apply it over here, apply it over here, like that. But this will make our DAX complex. So what we can do is, when we are summarizing this orders table, we apply a filter of year 2019 there itself. So to do that, let us go back to our query, and in here I will use a filter DAX function. Filter will take argument as the table, which is our orders table, and then we can apply a filter expression. So we need to apply a filter expression for year. We need to say where our order year is 2019. So this will only grab those rows from the orders table which have a order date year as 2019. Now we need to again summarize this by region and then category. So that's how this table looks like. Let us also add the year. So now this is our summarized table. Using add columns, we will add the extra columns. So in this table, we want to add a column called sum of sales, which is nothing but our sales total measure. Total sales, the calculation will be same, where we calculate the sales total and we remove any context that is coming from orders table. Next, we have percent of total sales by region and category. To calculate percent of sales for each region by year, we are again going to use divide function and divide these sales by the sales where we remove any context that is coming from region and get the 2019 context. So which means we need to use a calculate function and change the context for the sales total calculation. And the context that we need to change is, we ignore all the context except that is coming from the orders table in the region column, and we also get the year to be 2019. Let's close all these brackets and click on enter. And now all three of our DAX tables are created. Let us now move to our report view and create the visualizations. We need to create three bar charts. So let us use the clustered bar chart over here. And for the first one, we need to create it from the region summary. So our y-axis will be region and percent of total will be our x-axis. And in legend, we're going to keep regions. We're going to keep regions. Let us just quickly format this. So for formatting, title should be percent of sales by region. I will change the font, make it bold. For x-axis, our title should be percent of sales. Changing the font. Now we don't want the x-axis values, but we do want to see the data labels. And let us just increase the size of these labels so it's clearly visible. I'm just going to copy this so that I get the formatting as is. And I'm just going to replace these. So now we are going to do it from the region and year. We want the year to be on the y-axis, percent of sales on the x-axis. We want it to be split by region. Let us just put this as a clustered column chart. And lastly, let us just copy this. And this time, we're going to create this from the region and category side. So we want regions on y-axis percent of sales on x-axis. These are how the visuals look like. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you like the content, then please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you in my next one.